Okay, hello. Today we're going to go over installing a Postgres database on a Mac OS X system. Um, you're going to need Homebrew for this and Python installed. So if you don't have those installed, I have another video of last time going over that, so you can go watch that. Okay, so let's get started. The first thing I'm going to do is install Postgres. So that's just brew install. Well, first let's see what we have available. Brew search Postgres. See what packages we have. So yeah, I mean you can see all the different versions there. You got 10, 11, 12. We're just going to brew Postgres SQL like that. Hello, Tenho. Nice Pikachus. So, yep, here we go. Installing Postgres. Hopefully, it won't take as long as the last time, but we'll see. It looks like we're installing 3.4, which is the last version of Postgres. And anytime you brew install something, you want to always kind of look at this area down here. So it's going to usually have some important stuff. And as we see here, this right here is going to be our most important thing to start the Postgres service. So if we type brew services start PostgreSQL, and starting it, there we go. Now we have Postgres running. So I think it's brew services list. It will show us. As you can see, this will list whatever services we have running. Redis, I have stopped. I don't have that running. But Postgres, we have started here. And you can see what it's using to run it. You don't really need to care about that right now. So that means we can log in, and the beginning default user for Postgres is going to be Postgres. So you're going to do PSQL dash uppercase U Postgres. And that's, whoops, okay, so 1 second. There we go, okay. So I guess the role, it creates a role based on your user. We can see, yeah, so create a role based on my Mac OS X login, Matthew Barlow. I used to create a Postgres like in version, I want to say 10.9 when I was first learning it, but now it looks like it just uses whatever your OS X login is, creates that super user, gives you all these fancy privileges. And so the Postgres database is the main, like your starting database. It's where you're going to go to do all your administration and create other databases or drop databases or create users. So you don't really build anything on Postgres itself. Usually you create another database. Like I'm going to create database MLB for our, well, forgot my semicolon. So there we go. We have a database called MLB. And so another thing I want to point out is when you see this pound, that means you're logged in as a super user. You know, if you're working on production or something like that on AWS, you normally don't want to do that. But since it's just our local copy, and I really don't want to get into users tonight because I'm tired, we'll just leave it there. So we'll quit out of that. And now we're going to log in to our MLB. So now we're on our MLB database. And so nothing's there. Like if you list, that DT is list tables, and so there's no tables. So we're going to create some tables, but first we need to get some data. So we're going to quit out of here. I'm going to create, let's see, which Python am I on? Oops, I always forget that. Which Python 3? Okay, Python 3 version 3.7. So I don't want that. So let's change 3.8.7. Is that it? Okay. INV versions. Which version? Okay, 3.8.11. So Pi setter global. Oh, 3.8.11. And we're going to create a virtual environment, Python M, VNV, let's just call it PSQL, PSQL env, and that's going to create it in our current directory. So if we look, yep, we see PSQL env. So I'm going to activate that, source, PSQL env, then activate. As you can see over here, it's activated. If you're just working on a plain terminal, it's not going to show that. But another way you can always tell is doing which Python 3, and as you can see, it'll point to your virtual environment that you've installed. So now that we've installed that, we're going to install some packages that we need to work with this database. We're going to need pandas. Scicopg2. At least I think that's how you pronounce it. That's how I pronounce it. Who knows what it actually is? I mean, if anyone knows, please let me know. So I think those two will be enough to get us started. We may come across some other issues later on, but we'll see. So collecting those. Okay, last time we had issues with our pip not being upgraded, so we're just going to go ahead and upgrade that. Pip install upgrade pip. Just get that out of the way. So make sure our packages. Oh yeah, I wanted to install Jupyter Lab. That's going to be our notebook. I used to use Jupyter notebooks, but I've switched to. I'm trying to everything in one window, and you have to switch with the old notebooks. Some people use it in VS Code, and so it's a little different. But I like just doing the Jupyter Lab, and as we can see, Jupyter Lab. Well, Jupyter Lab. There we go. As we can see, that's running. So let's switch over to our Jupyter Lab window. Give me 1 second. So, there we go. So as you can see, Jupyter Lab, we have our env here. So let's start a new notebook, untitled IPYNB classic. So let's do import pandas as PD, import Scicopg2. Let's make sure that works. Okay, so that works. We got our packages in. So now we just need to get our baseball data, which I've downloaded. It's going to be in our downloads, my downloads folder. Let me switch back to terminal because I'm going to do some work in there. So there we go. So CD downloads, grab base, probably layman. Whoops. Maybe grab baseball. There we go. This baseball data bank master is what we're going to do. So let's change directory. Let's see what we got. Core, I think it's in here. Okay, so this is going to be all our our tables. So what I'm going to do is copy all these CSVs into our Python. What do we call it? Well, let me see what's in. I forgot what the directory was that I created. What did I call it? Postgres install. Okay, so see if it's in there. Nope. Copy CSV Python Postgres install. So let's see. Change back. Oh, that's not where we want to go. Good Python Postgres install. As we can see, all our CSVs are there. So let's switch back to our Jupyter Lab and look at that. Okay, so there we go. So let's read in. One of them was called All Star. So let's call All Star df equals pd read csv all. Yeah, there we go. Tab completion. That's always nice. And then let's see. Let's look at our data. So right now we already have some data here. But one issue, as you can see here, is that the columns are camel case, or in terms of GP here, it's completely capitalized. So Postgres only takes lowercase or defaults to lowercase column names. Like if we pass these in, like it would treat them as columns, but you would have to like quote them, and it's just normally just a giant pain. So what I'm going to do is read all these in, convert the columns to lowercase, write them back to CSV. So we'll need to import OS for, let's look up OS, the OS walk, Python. Let's just go here. So, I mean, I do this all the time. See, here we go. Cut, paste it. Let's walk. Current directory. You can always pass it a period to represent your current directory. See if .csv in files. Then we want to data frame equals pd.read csv files. Data frame columns equals map. Hopefully I have that. I always can't remember which goes first in map. I'm pretty sure it's the function. So we're going to map the lower function onto the columns, and then just save it back in the columns. Then data frame dot write CSV files, and then I think index equals false. Let me double check that. Pandas write CSV. To CSV. Okay, so it's not write CSV. I forgot. So index equals true. We want that to be false. So that's right, but it's actually to CSV. So let's see if this works. It probably won't. Nothing ever works the first time you write it. Oh wow, it looked like it ran. However, that could mean that it is not correct. So let's try to read this in again, see what we get. Nope, did not work. So let's see what this is doing. Okay, so it's looping through the version. I don't want to do that. So for F and files, let's try it this way. CSV and F, then let's do it. So as you can see, like the first ones, you can see them right here. And then it loops through all this Python BS that we don't really need. Jupyter. Okay, so issue here. Valid path or buffer. Oh, that's why. Forgot to change this to F. Okay. Now it's running. Oh, another error. Where the heck is that coming from? Absolute path this. View Barlow code Python Postgres and install. Probably will fail again. And yeah, so I can never remember how to walk. Let's walk. So let's see. For name and files. Okay, there we go. OS path. So let's try to do that. So join root F. See if this works. In case you're wondering, this is like, if you're new, this is basically all coding is. It's just Googling error messages and syntax. Like, I never remember anything off the top of my head. I guess maybe that makes me not a good programmer, but from what I've seen, that's kind of the common thing. So if you find yourself looking up syntax, and there we go. Now we have all our columns, lowercase, and we're ready to go about creating tables in our database. So now we need to connect to our database using Python. And I'm going to look that up again. Psychopg2 connect with pandas. We'll see what. Here we go. We'll see what this person says. Okay, so specify connection parameters. We can do that. Let's go back here. Host is going to be localhost. Our database is going to be MLB. Users Matthew Barlow will be whatever you call. We won't need a password because usually Postgres, when it starts up, will have it set up for if you're connecting from localhost, you don't need a password. At least on Mac. If you're doing this on Windows or Linux, that may change, but usually that's kind of the default. If you're connecting from localhost, you don't need a password. excuse me, log into the database. Um, if you're doing something for production or for a website, you obviously want to like change that immediately to make everyone log in with a password. It's just a simple step security. So if you ever like you've got your database built, maybe you want to, build a website on top of it or some other API, just go ahead and change those default configurations. So we have that. Let's see, connect to the database. Let's insert. Okay, that's doing it one at a time. We don't want to do that. So what I may do, I believe, is use a SQL Alchemy, Postgres Pandas connection. So connecting to Pandas database. Yeah. This website, Hackers and Slackers, write all my Flask. A really good one for Python Flask. And I basically used it to write my API for my old basketball website before I took it down. So this is a good website. They have some really great tutorials on how to do things in Python. So if you're learning, I would. I'll go ahead and put it in the chat. So if you want to, the Hackers and Slackers, it's a really good website. I like it. So we're going to. So here we go. We'll create database try. So gross. Copy that. I don't think we need this parameter dictionary anymore because we're doing it a different way. So this is going to be connection string equals. Don't need a password. Matthew Barlow at localhost. Let's stretch this out. Can we stretch this out? That's not being cooperative. There we go. And it's going to be MLB. So there's our connection string. It's going to use Postgres. We'll still need the site copg2, but we're probably going to need to install SQL Alchemy. I'll switch back over. So yeah, we'll do this. Let's copy this. Let's just get the code set up before I switch back. I always like to put my imports at top. That's just me being OCD. It's common in Python to put all your imports at top, so people know where to look for them. Yeah, it's common in a lot of languages. If you do Java or JavaScript. So we'll change this to connection string. We don't need this. Don't need the self.engine. I just need create engine. I'm just going to change that to connection. Switch back. Let's see what else they have. So we'll copy some of this, and we'll come back and change things up. We'll change that to our all-star df. Table name will be all star. Whoops. All star if exists, replace, it's fine. Index false, yeah, we don't want the D types. I mean, if you're doing this in a more like professional, yeah, we would go through and set every D type, or which is mean stands for data type. We'd set every data type. No, I do not use Proton Mail. I have an AWS uh, set up for my domain. I use AWS Simple Mail. So normally we would go through and set any D types. Like if I was at work, I would definitely do all this to avoid any weird errors, or because sometimes it will just cast things to a data type you don't want. Like you may want a date time, but it may just cast it to a string, and then altering it in the database is a lot hard. Well, it's not hard, but it's definitely not easy. It's not as easy as like cutting it and pasting here. It's kind of like measure twice, cut once sort of thing. So, but for now, we'll not worry about that. So I do know that. Okay, so pandas to SQL. So yeah, I gotta look these up because I mean, look at all these key. I mean, it's not so bad here, but if we go back to like they'll have like 20 keywords. So I do know. I thought it had method. Yeah. So this is going to be important. Scroll down method. Multi is what you want to set here. It allows the pass multiple values in one insert clause. Um, Instead of doing one per row. One per row is like super slow, at least through pandas. If you're just kind of looping over a CSV, it's all right, but still you're having to reach out to the database, wait for the response, write the data, wait for the response, over and over again. When instead of multi, you can just send everything at once. And so let's add method equals multi. So table, create engine, I think, so we need to just change this to connection, but let's double check. Engine, what do they have engine? Yeah, so that's just engine, so that's going to change that to connection. So let's see if this works. Oh, need to install SQL Alchemy, of course. So 1 second. Let's switch back to the terminal. I'm just going to do pip install. Whoops, that's not what I wanted to do. It's like super big now. I don't know what you guys are seeing. Did not mean to do that. Sometimes. So pip install SQL Alchemy. Oh, it helps to spell it right. So if you're working at the terminal and you want to like go back a command, you just hit up on the arrow, and that will help do that. 1 second. Let me see. Okay, that might help people read a little bit easier. Nope, that's even worse. Okay, there we go. So let's alchemy. Okay, so we should be able to run this now. So let's switch back to our Jupyter Lab, and let's try. No module named SQL Alchemy. Oh, I didn't install it into our virtual environment, so that's the issue. Okay, switch back to the terminal. So we're going to source, what's it called again? Source, PSQL, env, bin, activate. So there we go. Now pip install SQL Alchemy. Okay, so now it should be in our what's it called? Pip freeze grep SQL. Why is it not? Is it pip 3? Oh, it's not because it's capitals. Okay, well, you don't need to call it capitals in the thing. See, lowercase SQL Alchemy, as you'll see, will be just fine. So let's switch back to our Jupyter Lab. Okay, so now let's try it again. Okay, so what went wrong? Can't load plugin SQL Alchemy dialects, Postgres, no such module error. So let's see what's going on here. I'm just going to Google this error. Let's see what Stack Overflow says. Stack Overflow is always good. Simple Python. Okay, so now, so we need to change this to Postgres SQL. Let's see what is Postgres SQL. See if it has any other. Try it again. Okay, looks like we got some success here. Looks like we got. Let's go and see what we have. So SQL MLB /DT, and there we go. We got a table, all-star. So select star from all-star, limit 10. That's just going to pull back the first 10 rows. And look, there we go. So we have all our data in there. So now we just need to repeat this for the rest of our CSVs. Okay, so we're going to, like above, we're going to loop. So we're going to just get rid of this again. Or I'll do that, but then we'll pull so we'll do a little trickery here. So instead of doing, that'll be data frame to SQL, and we'll get the name from that F. What we'll do is f.split period. That's going to split the file name into the name of the file and then the CSV ending, and then we're just going to take the first of that, and that's going to be the name, and then lower it. So we make sure it's lowercase. I mean, I think you can do tables off the top of my head in upper and lowercase, but I find it better to just always just go with lowercase with everything. Even variables like, I mean, you see some conventions for uppercase for like class names, and then some languages like camel case, which I think's annoying because you have to like shift through the name instead of just typing it out. I prefer just everything lowercase. Um, but that's the end of my rant on lowercase. So let's do everything lowercase. And so this will loop through the files. We'll get if it has CSV in them, we will read in the data frame, write it to the database, and then we should be. I'm going to cut off. I'm going to redo this because I don't want it. So if you see like echo, that usually means it's going to print stuff out. I really don't want that to print out because as you can see, it's a lot of data. I really just want to kind of um, have my own logging. So probably what I'll do here is print, use fstring. We can make sure, take this, is being inserted into database. And so that's, I just always put print statements in. Like if I'm at work, I have a logging function. I use Python's logger because it makes it easier to write to file and you can set up a bunch of defaults. But print statements for like, if you're just doing basic debugging, you really can't go wrong with just inserting some print statements and seeing what the data is. And this way we'll see what's being inserted. And if we get a failure, we'll know like what table it failed on. So let's try this and see where we are. Whoops. Okay. Obviously need to have the correct syntax as we can. Yeah, there we go. So we're inserting now. It's just time to. One of the best parts of being a programmer is just sitting back and letting your code run. This may take a minute. I'm not sure. I hear my fans kicking on, so I'm assuming it's chugging away. And so the reason I did this tonight is because SQL is like, if you're getting into data science, one way to stand out is to know SQL. Like you get a lot of people that, in my opinion, that like learn Python or R and just want to get in and build models and stuff like that. But SQL's really like your 80% of your job is going to be spent in SQL pulling data or cleaning data before you can even build a model. So if you can learn SQL, you can add it to your resume. It's just a really great bonus to have. I mean, it's basically the reason I have had a career in sports. I built an NHL stats database, which led to my job with NHL. Um, Using those database skills, I then built an NBA database and then built a website on top of it, which led to my current job with the Rockets. So, like, database work and SQL is just super important. And this is like a great way. It's a free data set. It's sports related, so it's a little bit more fun than working with Iris data sets. And then you have the SQL here, and you can practice like writing SQL, and then you can also practice writing like Python code or R code to pull the data from the database as well. I mean, that's another skill that's really important. Still working. Um, so I'm really big on like as a beginner project for people wanting to get into data science is like build your own database. I mean, it teaches you a lot of skill. One, you need to get the data and clean it and shape it. Then you learn, your database skills about building the database and how the tables fit together, normalizing tables, stuff like that. It's just a lot, teaches you a lot of like skills like that aren't, you may not see in like boot camps or tutorials or stuff like that. And it's kind of teach you a little bit more like software engineering skills that are super important for working in data science these days, uh, as opposed to maybe like 5 years ago. It wasn't near as important, but you're starting to see. I mean, I'm not the only one to say this. Like Vicky Boykas is definitely sad. She has a great article about it, about how data science and data analysis is moving more. Like you need to really know like solid software engineering principles, like Git, some object-oriented programming, some database admin, some DevOps working with. Oh, it's what is all this? I don't even know where that stuff is, but UMath. It's working. Okay, it's done. So, oh, I guess I wasn't showing you the the Jupyter Lab. I got distracted, so we'll flip back to it. So as you can see, I just printed through what database, and then it like started. There's some other stuff, and apparently some CSVs in either the Jupyter Notebook checkpoints, or I'm not sure where, that are in there. Let's go back and look at the code and try to drop those out. So switch back. So I bet no. Where is it finding those CSVs at then? Let's see. Hmm. I don't know. Okay, maybe I'm not doing find right. So let's look up how to use find. Find Linux will be fine. Here we go. Find. So find. I want to search this directory. We want to find this file .csv. So let's see some. I'm looking at some examples. Okay, go away. So search this directory. We want the name. That's what I always forget. Slash or dash name. Oh. So yeah, it's in our env. I don't know. Oh, it's probably yeah, it's in the test. So let's filter out those. So we can go back. And PSQL env not in root. So we'll filter those out. So what I'll do is I'm going to go back into PSQL -d Postgres. I'm going to drop our MLB database. I'll drop database MLB. It's going to take a minute. Oh, is it still? How is it still being accessed? It's one other session using the database. Okay, I'm going to look up how to kill sessions Postgres. maybe it would help if I read. MLB. So select PG terminate backend stat. So let's see if I can do it now. Okay, so we dropped it. So I'm going to create it again. Base MLB. So now that we've created it again, let's go back to our Jupyter Lab and run our code again. And hopefully this time we won't get any weird NumPy test CSVs. Oh, that's what that does. Okay. Well, thank you for following. I didn't know what that button did. So there we go. Hopefully everyone has found this useful. Obviously, if you didn't catch this live, I'm going to post it on Twitch, and I'm hopefully going to start like uploading some stuff to YouTube, so you can watch it there, and hopefully maybe it like better. Oh, I guess you don't really need better quality for this, but and then you can follow along and get your own database set up, and then start doing your own, start doing baseball analysis. We might do some of that in a future stream. I'm not sure yet. I'm working on a NHL goals prediction model again. I did it a couple years ago, and it didn't turn out very well. And I'm trying again because I still think there's something there. I don't think I did it well enough, or maybe didn't know enough about modeling. There's whatever something. So we'll be looking at that in the future. Probably that's what I'll do on Sunday. Still working on batting. If anyone has any questions, now would be a good time to ask. If not, I guess that means I've explained it perfectly. That's how I'm going to take it, that I'm perfect. So let's see if you're not familiar with Jupyter, like if the star is there, that means it's still running. If there you have a number, that means it's done. For those that you might not know, so that's how I know. It sounds like my daughter may be coming to join us. You can hear her iPad. Okay. Okay, so it's done. So let's switch over, do some basic searches. Um, 1 second, and then we'll call it a night there. So we're back on our database. So let's quit PSQL D MLB /DT or /DT, and there we have all our tables: all-star appearances, batting. So let's select star from batting 1 at 10. So here you can see 1871. It goes all the way back. That's pretty crazy. If you wanted to get names, we can do a simple join. Let's see. Select star B dot star from batting B. Join. Let's see. People, I think. People on P dot player ID equals B dot player ID. I'm at 10. Oh, it would help if I whoops. Help if I pulled the column that we want to. P dot star. So yeah, so let's see, name given. So let's just do name given. P dot name given. There we go. Francis Patters, Douglas L. Apparently he doesn't have a last name. It's just a L, period. William. No, he's just a one-name baseball player. Let's see, Franklin Lee. These may be first names. Maybe I'm reading this wrong. But whatever. You see the gist of it. There you go. Your database is up and running. Feel free to query to your heart's content. I'm going to call it a night for now. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next stream. Thanks.